Hey guys, Red Razor here with another guide, an update on the Poison Burst Arrow Pathfinder build that I put out last week. I have managed to basically optimize it, leveled up a bunch, got some gear upgrades, a little bit more endgame upgrades. It's getting pretty close to about, what I'm looking at for super high-end gear. I mean, I can spend a lot of exalts to truly optimize it, but as of right now, this is pretty much what I've got. I'm going to show you guys a tier 15 map that's juiced with breach, a map boss, and ritual, just to show you how easy it is and how fast everything dies. This is about as high as the levels content as you're going to get, and this build just absolutely blasts.
I need more mana. What luck? Burst! Too weak, too slow. It moves. Suffocate!
Alright guys, we're going to go over the gems now. We're going to go over the passive tree, and then we'll go over the gear. Real quick, I'm just going to flash you 2 pictures. It's just basically going to break down all the gems. If you guys want to hear a breakdown of why I chose all the supports that I chose, feel free to watch the rest of this section. Otherwise, feel free to pause the video, take a screenshot, come back to it, use it as a reference. So here you go. So now that I've done that, if you just want to, reference that, feel free to. But I'm going to go through and explain everything. So if you want to skip to the passive skill tree, go right on ahead. Otherwise, enjoy the explanation. So we're going to start with Poison Burst Arrow first. So from my last video, as you probably noticed, I've mixed up a lot of different supports. Just learning about different interactions and stuff, just testing around with it. I've noticed some of those other support gems weren't working as intended, or they just didn't work as I thought they did. So this is what I ended up with, and I'm going to go ahead and explain the choices for all this. So we'll start with Scatter Shot first. So I'm taking this gem as right now because I don't have a bow that has plus arrows on it. You kind of need the +2 arrows from Scatter Shot to help with map clear. It really, really increases your ability to clear maps. If you get a bow that has additional arrows, feel free to replace it with Inspiration if you're having mana issues, or there's other ones you could throw in there. You can go and look. I'm sure there's a bunch of different options. I haven't really looked at what I replaced Scatter Shot yet, mostly because I haven't gotten a +2 arrow bow yet. But I mean, look at the damage difference when I take this off. It's literally 20,000. So if I could get a bow upgrade to where it has +2 arrows on it while keeping my fizz damage, you can see the massive damage increase that comes from that. So until then though, use Scatter Shot. It's mandatory for clearing maps. Next one, we got Martial Tempo. It's really good for attack speed. It allows you to basically shoot faster. Faster you shoot, more damage. Obviously, there's not much to it. Next one, we got Comorbidity, +1 poisons. This is really nice on like bosses and stuff. When you drop your gas cloud on them, it allows you to get 8 poisons when you're walking around shooting them. It helps with mobs. I mean, you saw in the breach, like when there's like 40, 50 mobs just coming in constantly, all those poisons spread. And when like 5, 6, 7 mobs die and all those poisons spread, it can stack up to 8 poisons on a mob really, really quickly, and they die really, really quickly. So good spell, or good support. Not a bad one to have. Next one, we'll go with Bursting Plague. This also really helps with clear. As you can read, poison supported from this adds 200% of the damage per second as Plague. When they die, they blow up as a maximum of 10% of enemy max life. It just helps with the clear. As stuff starts dying, it just chain reactions, spreads poisons, bursts, pops. They pop like balloons, and the screen just clears itself, as you just saw. So next one, we have Heft. All this does is it increases our max physical damage by 30%. So you can see the main hand physical damage. It basically just gives that a higher top end, which affects our poisons because our poisons are based off our fizz damage. So it's just a big juicy damage increase. Nice to have. Next we have Plague Bearer. This one didn't really change too much. We still have the 2 +1s because it is massive damage. So +1 fizz, +1 chaos. It's pretty straightforward. I added 40% area effect just so when I press the button, it reaches a little bit farther, hits more mobs. And then the last one here, we have Wind Wave. So this, I noticed, helped with the stunning issue. Like if something were to come up and bonk me and stun me while I'm trying to cast it, it kicks out little waves, knocks them back. Kind of goes hand in hand with Wind Dancer. It's just another extra little layer of defensive. There wasn't really any looks I could put with this, so I figured might as well. It doesn't add any cost or anything, and it just gives you a little bit of extra defenses. Next, we have Gas Arrow. I kind of use this now as like still blanketing areas and stuff, but it's a little bit better single target DPS. So we got Deadly Poison on there. It really increases the damage that it does. Follow that up with some Persistence. Makes it last longer, so when you jump it on a boss or you drop it at like, cover area in a breach, it just lasts longer. Applies poisons longer. It's pretty straightforward. Next, we have Inspiration. I just put this here. It just helps with costs. I mean, I have a lot of plus level to gems. You can see I've got +6. I wanted to put Inspiration on one of my skills. It just helps with mana cost. Eventually, I'll probably move Inspiration up to Poison Burst Arrow when I get an increased, arrow bow, but that's not anywhere close because the next bow is going to be super, super expensive. So for now, leaving it here, it's not bad to have. Then I throw on Long Shot, very nice for bosses. You're standing back away from the boss, you shoot the Gas Cloud on him, and you're just dodging mechanics, and it just gives your Gas Cloud poisons a little bit more damage. So it's not too bad. Next, we got Vine Arrow. So I kind of pivoted from my last video to this one. Originally, I used it as kind of like a little buffing totem. I found that I wasn't really standing near my Vine Arrow enough to really get value out of those two buffs. So instead, I gave it a little bit more DPS. It's nice in bosses. It's good for putting down. I don't spam it too often. And so because I don't spam it too often, I decided to put Expanse in there. It gives it a little bit more area of effect so the Vine reaches farther. It has a 6-second cooldown now. I mean, that's fine. Like I said, like if I'm doing a ritual or a boss, I drop it. It generally drop it once. I mean, only one Vine Arrow can attach to an enemy at a time anyways. So just dropping it down one time kind of just allows that to happen anyways. So it just gives a little bit of damage. Encumbrance, it has a slow built in. Makes the slow better. Swift Affliction. I found that this doesn't actually work with our poisons like Poison Burst Arrow. So this actually goes really well with Vine Arrow. It does damage over time, chaos damage. It's not an ailment. So this just buffs the chaos damage over time, and it doesn't have any damaging elements that it inflicts, so it doesn't really get the downside from this as well. So I found this is a good spot for that. And then we'll follow up with Chaos Infusion. It only does chaos damage, so you get the increased chaos damage and you don't get the downside of the non-chaos. I mean, the arrow itself technically does damage when it hits the ground, so you lose damage on that, but the majority of the damage of the skill comes from the plant, from the vines, so you're really not losing a whole lot there. Next, we'll do Rain of Arrows. So, still use this one as kind of utility. We got Culling Strike. It's good for bosses, good for rares. Just kills them at 5 and 10% respectively. We got Withering Touch. Makes them take more chaos damage. So, it's easy to do. I use Soul Drain and Life Drain. Didn't really know what else to put on this. These are both Culling Strike supports. So, whenever you Culling Strike a boss or a rare, you just get 12% mana and 12% life back. It's just a little bit of quality of life, and it doesn't increase the cost. They're not too bad. So then we go to Wind Dancer here. I moved Blind from Rain of Arrows from my last video to this one. I found that if a mob comes up and hits me, and the little proc from Wind Dancer pops, putting Blind on it helps a lot, because that means that there's a mob on top of you. This will blind all the mobs around you, and putting Blind on them gives them 20% less accuracy and evasion rating, so they're easier to kill, and they're less likely to hit you. So it's just kind of an added extra layer of defense to Wind Dancer. So if somebody were to manage to come up and smack you, this just kind of helps give you that survivability. We just keep the same ones as before. Clarity, just a little bit more mana regen. Vitality, it's a little bit more life regen. And then Precision, which is just accuracy. So as long as you have Wind Dancer on, you get those buffs. It's nothing crazy. And so lastly, I figured I should add in Despair. After messing around with stuff, seeing it from other videos. It's actually a really good idea. You just got to get your intelligence up to, I think, 72 for a level 9 Despair. It has to be level 9 minimum because it is a level 9 skill gem. So unfortunately, you can't use like a lower level. However, it's not bad. You use it. As you can read, it just lowers their chaos resistance. Very nice for those tanky mobs with chaos res or bosses. You put this with Rain of Arrows on it and your 8 stacks of poison, and they just melt. The 3 that I use supports for it is Heightened Curse. It just makes the effect of the curse even stronger, so the chaos resistance debuff is even higher. So I think this comes out to being like minus 41% chaos res. We got Arcane Tempo, so it casts faster. It's a 1 second cast time. 0.7, my bad, 0.7 cast time. It has a 1 second delay, so between when you cast it and it pops without any supports, it's 1.7 seconds. So I put a little bit of cast speed on it, and then I put on Focus Curse. It just means that when I put it on the ground, so after it casts, it sits on the ground for a second. With this means it's 30% reduced delay. So that means, I now have a 0.48 second cast time, and it should proc after about 0.7 seconds. So it just shaves almost a half a second off of when this, hits a mob. It adds a little bit of cost to it, so if you're having mana issues, you can take off the Focus Curse. It's not that crazy, or in terms of time saving. I mean, it's like I said, it's 0.3 seconds that you're getting out of this. You can drop it if you're having mana issues. I like it, just speeds it up. I don't have the mana issues with it, so I use it. Alright guys, we're going to go over the passive skill tree now and all the nodes I have. I'm just going to kind of quickly, scroll over what I have. If you don't want to listen to my explanations on why I take everything and when I take everything, feel free to go ahead and skip forward to the gear section. If you would like to hear why I took stuff, feel free to stick around, listen to what I have to say. So, first things first, obviously we take all the poisons nodes. It's just +1 poisons, increased damage of your poisons, poison duration, all that good stuff. Pretty mandatory. You're playing a poison build, there's no reason not to take all of them. After that, I take +1 pierce. Arrows just go through packs farther. I take increase and reduction of projectile speed, just because we have a quiver that has prod speed on it, so it's just a big increase in damage. I mean, you can see here, right, 17% on the quiver. I mean, obviously that could be better, but with this set of nodes right here, that ends up being like 34% increased prod speed, which makes that even better. So it's from the quiver, it's like 30 something percent, and then up here you get prod speed, and a couple other nodes you get prod speed as well right here. So there's a lot of nodes that combo with this that just give you damage. It's a very nice node. You want to take acceleration, move speed, skill speed, just speeds everything up, gives you a little bit of movement speed. We take this, movement speed again, prod speed, prod damage, a lot of quality life and damage. One thing to note is these chaos damage nodes, they don't show in the tooltip. I'm not sure if this is bugged or what. I have another buddy who's playing a monk build doing chaos damage. Taking these chaos nodes don't affect his chaos tooltip. So I don't know if these are just not working or if the tooltip's bugged with these nodes. Either way we take it regardless, just because the +1 to all level skills, very nice. Every skill we're using is basically a chaos skill, so there's a lot of value that comes from that. Same thing applies to this. Not sure if these are actually applying or not. However, the gain 11% of extra chaos damage, these do apply to that, so your chaos damage on your actual attacks are getting scaled. However, I don't know if they're actually scaling your actual chaos damage outside of that, so like your poisons and stuff. Not sure if tooltips are bugged or if the nodes aren't working. Not 100% sure on that. There's no real way to know unless a developer or something confirms that or it gets patched. With that in mind, after those are pretty much all the big damage nodes. We have this attack speed node here. We use this because I don't have any attack speed on my quiver yet or my bow, so we need some attack speed. Otherwise, it clearing maps doesn't really feel very good. This just allows you to shoot through the maps very quickly. Right now, we're pathing as well to a bunch of defensive nodes. This is going to be my next point here very soon. As you can see, I'm about to level up. I'm going to take bestial skin. I have acrobatics. I've got all these extra evasion nodes that you get. These are like, very good defensive layers. Highly recommend you take these after you get all your damage, or take them as you need defensives if you find yourself getting killed a bunch. One thing to note, acrobatics, you do not want to take this until you have like 15 to 20k evasion. When you take acrobatics, you're going to want to make sure that your evasion is at least 60%. It does cut your evasion rating down pretty hard. So keep with that in mind. Don't take this node until you can still maintain like a 60% plus chance to dodge. Ideally, the closer to 70 you can get, the better. When I take this node, I'll get a lot of evasion back that I'm missing. Your chest piece is very, very important for that. I mean, I'm getting 1,000 evasion. You can easily, like you can see my very first line, +60 evasion rating. That could have easily have been like a plus like 100 something evasion rating, which would have then made this like 100 or 1,200 evasion rating on the chest piece alone. And then also every point you get on your chest piece also will just get doubled from this. So very, very important. Honestly, I might replace this chest piece, drop the max life to get even more evasion. The more evasion you get, the better, because acrobatics, if you can't get hit, don't die. So it's not a terrible, terrible thing. After I take that, the next place I'm going to path to is down here to wasting. So the rest of my points, as I go towards level 100, is just going to be down here, down through this way, grabbing this jewel socket, and grabbing this and wasting. And then I'll probably grab these evasion nodes. That'll probably get me really close to level 100. If not level 100, I didn't really count. But that's my next plan on where I'm going to go. I will be posting a Mobalytics link below. If you guys are interested with leveling this, I'm not going to cover that in the video itself. It's just going to make the video way too long. So I will be putting in the Mobalytics link below kind of a breakdown of what you want to do in like the first 3 acts, etc., what skills you want to use. So it will kind of hold your hand while you level this and what nodes you want to take, when you want to take them. This is for the people that are already like pushing endgame and they're looking for a poison-based build. If you want to level this, like I said, check the link in below. I will post Mobalytics guide down below. It will walk you through. It will help you. It'll hold your hand. So after that, we're going to go to the gear. Here's a quick screenshot of all the stats you want on each slot. I kind of tried to order it in terms of importance. Obviously, just, you know, be aware of a couple of things like the HP on the body here. Make sure you have mana on kill in one slot on one of these pieces of gear. Yeah, feel free to reference back to this. I'm going to go on and explain all the gear in depth now. We're going to start with the bow first. As you can see, I have a pretty good bow here. It's not the best bow, but it gets the job done. It's very high DPS. As a priority, you want to get as much fizz damage as possible in the prefixes, so the more increased fizz you can get and adds fizz damage. As you can see, I've got the double fizz, increased fizz damage rolls and the add fizz damage to attacks. Very, very important. The suffixes are quality of life, or to kind of boost that. You want to focus on the fizz damage. You can maybe lose a little bit of like percentage on the fizz damage if you can get attack speed or plus arrows or plus level of prod skills, but the majority of your damage comes from fizz damage converted to your poisons, because it's 20% of your fizz and chaos damage. So high priority, as much fizz damage as possible. With that, we're going to go to the quiver next. Obviously, I have a penetrating quiver. It gives us pierce for free. You just want to get as much increased damage with bow skills, prod speed, and fizz damage to attacks. This allows you, your nodes on the tree to scale this, so this gets even bumped up even more. The plus level of prod skills, super, super nice. Obviously, I don't need the pierce in enemy, because I already have it on the implicit, and the dexterity is kind of like whatever. If I could replace those, it would probably be with attack speed, at least one of those. It just gives you a ton of damage. That's ideally what you're looking for. Now we're going to go over the gear. We're going to do the helmet, the chest, the belt, and the boots. This is mainly because you want to fill all the things that you need. If you can get your resistances capped and your HP up as high as possible, your amulet and your rings and your gloves can be used as more utility damage focused. Ideally, or probably you're not going to be able to get everything from these 4 pieces of gear, but the closer you get, the more it opens up on those other slots. So with that in mind, like I said, this isn't even the highest tier helmet. I think the expert hunting hood is the best. However, you want to get the highest tier you can, as much evasion rating, max life, resistances, and that's the same thing across the board. You want the same thing for your chest piece, your boots, and your belt. If you can get movement speed on your boots, that's also very nice. So you get movement speed, evasion rating, max life, resistances. The one thing about the chest piece I will note, if you do have that one node on the tree that gives you 100% increased evasion rating and you are taking acrobatics, you can drop the max life if you're buying a chest piece and go for a higher evasion rating chest piece, so it gives you a higher dodge chance. You will get more value out of that. However, if you can also get max life on it as well, those are pretty expensive. If you manage to find one, that's also very good. Same thing for the belt. You want max life, resistances. This belt really doesn't do a whole lot for me. This is an easy upgrade. You want a utility belt because the implicit's very good comboed with getting that on your flask. 40% of your health flask gets used instantly. Very, very nice. When you get hit hard, you can just pop that health flag, chug, 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 and it heals you very fast. But with that in mind, once you get those 4 pieces of gear set, you want to look at your resistances. So as you can see, I'm not even capped. I need to upgrade some gear. I'm very close to cap. I could probably replace this belt and get cap, to be honest. I just got to make sure I keep the lightning res. Once you have those and your resistance is capped, you can come to your gloves. If you don't have mana per enemy killed, either on your rings, your amulet, or your quiver, You want to get it on your gloves. You need this somewhere, whether it's on your gloves or whatever. It's what allows you to clear packs very easily when you're using Poison Burst Arrow and not be clicking your mana flask constantly and running out of mana charges. If you have your resistances capped, you can go for max life and adds fizz damage. I'm pretty sure you can also get attack speed on your gloves, so you can kind of use these as another damage slot if your defenses are taken care of. Otherwise, same thing as the other pieces. You want evasion, max life, and resistances, and that mana per enemy killed. Same thing applies for your jewelry. You can use it to kind of fill the gaps. So if you need some more resistances of something, get yourself some resistances, max life, and then obviously fizz damage to attacks. There's other modifiers that you can get, like your prefixes, where you can get increased chaos damage, you can get increased rarity of items, other stuff that are just quality of life if all your holes are plugged. So if you got your max resistances and you got enough evasion rating, all that good stuff, you can do that. Same thing with this ring. This one's a little bit more of a damage ring, as you can see, and with that rarity, as I said, very nice. These chaos resistance rings are probably the best rings you can use for now in the late game. There is a chance breach rings will be better because you can scale them higher with their qualities. They go up to 50% versus 20% like all the other gear, so you can raise a specific modifier a lot higher. Same thing with my amulet, as you can see. I'm using an increased rarity because I don't really need it for anything else. Got a ton of max life, even more. You can get plus level of all prod skills on an amulet. Very nice to have if you can afford the mana. Resistances, really use it as a utility slot. Like I said, fill resistances. If you got resistances filled, you can go for damage. So you get, like, as I said, plus all skills, max life, and rarity. You do want to get rarity on your gear somewhere. It makes your drops better on the map. Rarity is pretty good. It makes your, like, orb of transmutation drops turn into, like, regals, exalted orbs. You just get more and better stuff, higher tier gear, all that good stuff. As you can see at the very top, I have allocates high alert. It's very cheap. You can go to a website called PoE2DB. You can look up annoyance. It gives you a skill on the tree without having to path for it. This is a very cheap one that's good. Once I can afford it or I get the things myself, I will be anointing Spiral into Insanity. It's just 10% evasion and 30% chaos damage, so you get a little bit of defensive and damage. I also need to solve the evasion I lose from this, which will probably occur as I path through. Either way, make sure you anoint it with high alert. It's super, super cheap. It's just some free evasion. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe, it would mean the world to me. If you guys have any comments, feedbacks, suggestions, or any videos you might want to see, any explanations, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'd be more than happy to answer them or help. If you guys have any questions about the build, any help, feel free to join my Discord. People are always willing to help. I'm trying to build a small community of gamers in there, so feel free to join. People are always welcome. Again, like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching.